seated in the back. We'd like to get started. Jewish time, 6:08, not bad, right? Well, welcome everybody who's come, some of you from a distance, to the annual Brooklyn Jewish Historical Initiative, BJHI, Brooklyn Jewish Hall of Fame. Just to give you a little overview, this is my co-chair, Howard Teach, who's the founder of BJHI, and together along with some of our board members who are here, Ellen Levitt in the back, and Ron Schweiger, the Brooklyn historian, who are in the back. If you just raise your hand so they could see who you are. There are a couple other board members who couldn't make it tonight, but I just wanted to call them out. Just to give you a little overview, because a few people have asked about what is BJHI. BJHI was formed in order to document Brooklyn's Jewish past. Being Brooklyn and being from Jewish are two pieces of your identity that have very, very deep roots. And when you think about the number of people who are Jewish who are from Brooklyn and the contributions that they've made to society, whether in the arts, whether in literature, in drama, in entertainment, in humor, in sports, you name the profession, somebody from Brooklyn who was Jewish had a part in that. And over the years, our Hall of Fame has honored people who represent those two terms, being Brooklyn and being Jewish. And, you know, we've had people like Fivers Finkel and Dan Hedaya and Judge Judy and Chuck Schumer, but we've also had the seltzer guy and the person who did the egg creams and knishes and all the things that give us the identity of being Brooklyn and Jewish. And we stand here today with the war in Israel going, but being proud of the fact and standing out with the fact that we are Brooklyn and Jewish, and not hiding our identity today in the face of anti-Semitism, in the face of rising events that are happening really all over the world. As someone who was born in the Syrian Jewish community, I am thrilled that Assad was taken down, and I look forward to seeing what happens in the country of my ancestors and seeing if at some point in the future it becomes open for us to be able to go back and visit the country of our ancestors. But I also hail and I think sadly about the 100 hostages. I just got back from Israel, where every national building in Israel has to have has the chairs for the hostages that represent each of the hostages with a postage of them, and they're in every government building. I was in the National Library, and I saw these 100 chairs, each with a poster, each with a book representing who that person was. And I'm sadly the intelligence is that about 40% of those Jews that are still in Gaza may not have survived. But the goal is to get every single person out. So as we stand here today, celebrating our Brooklyn Jewish past, let's make sure we remember who we are, what we are, and why we're here to begin with. And with that, I'll turn it over to Howard.
My comment takes you a little bit out of this room, because one of the things that we also have noticed over the past 70 years, thank God we got Israel again, but a community like this, the American Jewish community in diaspora, the story of us got lost in the translation. That's why we started this. I'm proud of what we've done in America, what we've done in New York. I was talking to Rabbi Greenstein before, Avi, one of our inductees tonight, and I said, what interested me, why did people come to Brooklyn? Why the Hasidim come to Brooklyn? What is it about this? And one of the things that I want to explore and it's one of the great parts of an organization like this over the next few years. What's the mission and vision of the Jewish community now that we're here? How do we come together? How do we figure it out? And I don't mean just in terms of each element of it, but all together we've done something extraordinary. So when you're here tonight, and you take a look at the website, it's www.brooklynjewish.org. We're pretty pleased. We have, what do we have, about 70,000 a month now we're getting coming to the website? So that's pretty good, and about 10% overseas. And part of it is, and we want to expand on that, Jewish and non-Jewish, that they should know about us. They hear about certain parts of through the news. Doesn't accurately portray what's going on day to day, and you'll hear that in the discussions tonight. So when I say bring you out of the room, one of the things that I've been fortunate this year, Jewish News Service picked up and accepted my articles. This will be my 8th coming up this week of this year. And one of the things I say in there, and I'm going to read it because they may edit it out, so who knows, maybe it'll never see the light of day. But I really mean it. In the years coming up, this has been a dark period for us that we've seen, both in Israel and here. It's been difficult. And we are an organization that's about the positive. That's the way we feel, about telling the story. So one of the things I wrote as we come into this new administration is it's really coming out of a dark period into the light as we come to Hanukkah. It's the right time of year for that. And clearly our future will be built on the words, thoughts, and actions of all of us with our divergent viewpoints, never losing sight of our guiding spirit of Torah and our ancestors who found freedom coming out of Egypt, our fortitude in standing up to the Romans, our resilience in restoring to our people all that we are after the Holocaust, our determination in the founding the growth of the State of Israel, and our joy and mazel in the accomplishments, advancements, and leadership of today's Jewish people in building a more enlightened world of peace for all people. So as we're going through this tonight, think of what can we do over the next 4 years with the leadership we have, the specialness of the people we have, to get a narrative out there that's not about victimhood, it's not about anti-Semitism, it's not about fighting against other people, but rather it's portraying us as it was originally, of a people to bring something special to the world, where all are together. And you'll see in terms of the people we're honoring tonight, the surprise to many people is how they've brought people together and delivered a lesson in terms of the spirit of who they are, of we as Jewish people are bringing something to the world to be admired. So with that, we're going into the historical part? Okay. So Ellen and Ron, if you would come up. So one of the wonderful parts is we have historians and we have tours as part of BJHI. And two of the people who are on the board, and Serena introduced them, are going to come up for a 5-7 minute segment. Do you hear that, guys? 5 to 7 minutes? Between you, not individually. Of a discussion, really to tell you little tidbits of things that they tell and talk about in terms of their recollections of Brooklyn, and it should be enjoyable and fun. And Ron, you got to tell that one story for sure. You said you promised. So Ron Schweiger and Ellen Levitt.
Hi, I'm Ellen Levitt. I've lived here all my life. I've been part of the Brooklyn Jewish Historical Initiative for about 10 years, I guess. And being a Brooklynite, being a Jewish Brooklynite is very important to me. And I guess I'm best known as far as putting those together for having written a book called The Lost Synagogues of Brooklyn. Now before you say, that's kind of depressing, no it's not. There are bittersweet elements to it, but my feeling is I've been documenting former synagogues that are all around the borough, and I don't want them to be forgotten. It's important to remember our roots and how they moved around. Believe me, there are plenty of active synagogues, and I enjoy going to them, but there's also former synagogues. You know, for example, in neighborhoods such as Bed-Stuy, Brownsville, East New York, New Lots, Canarsie. And I hope you heard me before. I was using my teacher voice, right? So by studying these former synagogues, we learn a lot about our past, you know, and it's not just one group. I've documented synagogues that are from, you know, obviously Ashkenazic congregations, also Sephardic congregations. They have different decorations, they've got memorial plaques. People who are fascinated by genealogy like to learn about these things. And I don't want to sweep this kind of information under the rug. It is worthwhile studying. You know, so I encourage people not to overlook, you know, what seems like a little bit discomforting, you know, former synagogues. There are fascinating stories here, and it also helps us build bridges with other communities in the area, because some of these have become churches. Some of these former synagogues have become medical centers or schools, etc. So, you know, if you want to take a look at this book later on, I'm happy to talk with you about former synagogues. And if you want to learn a lot about Brooklyn itself and Jewish Brooklyn, you don't just look at the current synagogues, you look at the former ones too. That's what I think you should do. And some of them are really pretty.
Hi, I'm Ron Schweiger. I'm the official historian for the Borough of Brooklyn. I was appointed in 2002 by Marty Markowitz. And by law, each of the 5 borough presidents must appoint a borough or county historian. So I'm the one for Kings County. Every county in the state of New York must have a county historian. And our salary is, however, Marty Markowitz, for the 12 years he was the borough president, each year he added another 0 to my salary. Marty and I have known each other since 1974. He won't admit it's that long. There's another thing he won't admit to. He's 4 days older than I am. Okay. Anyhow, Howard insisted that I tell you this first. How many, we just had the World Series, baseball. How many of you here are old enough to have gone to Ebbets Field? Okay. Well, growing up, I was born in 1945. I'm 79. And during the baseball season, which started in April, sometimes it was during Passover. Well, my older brother and I, we would go to Ebbets Field, and my mom would pack for us chopped liver sandwiches and matzah. And we brought that to Ebbets Field. All right? That's what we did, with macaroons too. Okay? So that's one of the memories I had. One other memory, it's not a memory, it's part of Brooklyn Dodger history, Jewish history. When Jackie Robinson started with the Dodgers as the first black player in Major League Baseball in 1947, one of the first members of the team that went over and sat next to him was the first base coach named Jake Pitler, who was Jewish. Okay. That's a little Brooklyn Dodger Jewish history. Now, we are in downtown Brooklyn. We're in Brooklyn Heights, Fulton Street. How many of you went shopping in Abraham and Strauss? The best store ever. But the original store was not Abraham and Strauss. Now, some of you might know a little bit of what I'm about to tell you, but I'm sure most of you in here do not know. The original store was called Wexler and Abraham. Joseph Wexler and Mr. Abraham. I'm not double talking, that's his name, Abe. Okay? And the store was not the one that we went shopping in. It was on Fulton Street, but further down, closer to Flatbush Avenue. When the Brooklyn Bridge opened in 1883, one of Abe's friends said, listen, Abe, you ought to move the store down Fulton Street closer to where all those horses and wagons are coming off that new bridge. You'll make more money. That was in 1883. In 1893, Isidore and Nathan Strauss, who helped establish Macy's in Manhattan, Mr. Wexler left. Isidore and Nathan Strauss crossed the river to Brooklyn and joined Mr. Abraham. 2 years later, the new store opened up. That's the one that we went shopping in. It opened in 1895. Okay. 2 clerks that worked for Mr. Abraham in very early years was Simon Bloomingdale and, give me a second, what's the one on Fifth Avenue? Not Bergdorf. No, Altman. Benjamin Altman. Benjamin Altman and Simon Bloomingdale were clerks that worked for Mr. Abraham in the early years. And of course, they left and did their own department stores. So that's a little bit of the history. Isidore and Nathan Strauss and Mr. Abraham were multi-millionaire philanthropists, donating a lot of money to Jewish causes and other causes as well. Mr. Abraham, a group of people wanted to establish a Jewish hospital in the late 1800s. And Mr. Abraham said, you raise X amount of money by a certain date in December, and I will give you the additional $10,000 to make it $100,000. That was Mr. Abraham, and helped establish the Jewish hospital in Brooklyn. Okay? Isidore and Nathan Strauss, in 1912, went to Palestine, and they were ready to come back to New York. Well, Isidore said, Nathan said, Isidore, you go ahead. I'm going to stay here with Lena. Isidore never made it back. He was on the Titanic, along with Mr. Astor and along with Mr. Guggenheim. Jewish history. Thank you. And by the way, there's a book you have to get if you can. It's out of print, but libraries might have it. The History of Brooklyn Jewelry, published in 1937.
Abelo?
Okay? I have the book.
Abelo?
Abelo, yes.
I used it for this.
Mr. Abelo. She knows it, okay? It's a wonderful book in the history of my synagogue in Flatbush is in there, and many other synagogues. Mine goes back to 1911. Thank you all, and enjoy the evening. And happy Hanukkah.
So I want you to, so one of the things that we did this for is not only the two of them, we have others. So whether it be a synagogue or whether it be another organization, we have available to you if you want to have a historian for an evening telling these stories. It makes for a wonderful, wonderful evening. So be in contact through the website that you're interested in that, and it's something we can set up because we want to reach out more and more. We have the resource, and we want people to be in, and one of the things in what I was saying, one of the jobs that we have is we have to have a more literate community. They don't know enough about our Judaism, as you would say, they don't know enough about Torah, and they don't know enough to stand up and celebrate who we are today. That's something that we all have a responsibility for. All of us have a responsibility. And as you'll hear again in the discussion here, that'll come when we have our inductees up, they're doing a lot in terms of not only educating our community, but having them meet with other communities to educate them directly on who we are. So thank the two of you for a wonderful segment.
Thanks.
Let me go down ahead of
And now as we go into the wonderful part of the program, which is the inductees in the Hall of Fame, and what do we have, about 60 or 70 people in the Hall of Fame now? something like that. It's incredible. It's gone on for 6 or 7 years. It's been magnificent. The people are terrific, and the first person who unfortunately isn't with us tonight because her family, somebody in the family is sick, but we're really lucky because we have one of our past and members of the Hall, not past members of the Hall of Fame, she's a member of the Hall of Fame, past inductee, Marina Cavalier here, and Assembly member Alec Burkrasny, who I'm sure everybody knows, who are going to accept the award for Tatiana Varzan, who I'm sure all of you had been out to Coney Island, that area, Tatiana's for years. They're going to tell you about her and have a small discussion. If they would come up, sit at the table, and you have a responsibility now to give her the award. So thank you. Marina, by the way, I got to say one thing. Marina, and she got the introduction when we did the Hall of Fame and inducted her. What she's created is the most incredible thing for the Russian Jewish community, citywide, worldwide, in terms of the cultural side of who they are. She established something and spread it in a way that we just have our total admiration.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. And on behalf of honorees of 2023, I would like to thank the board and the Brooklyn Jewish Historical Initiative for all the greatest work they do. Thank you so much. Thank you. And especially, it is important to us, to the generation of people who came from the former Soviet Union. I was born in Ukraine. Alec came from Moscow, because the organization continues helping, having on a map the community that went through the struggle to become Jewish. So, speaking of that, I would like to introduce our first Russian-speaking politician, Alec Burkrasny, who is serving his 7th term. And that's not because he is representative of Russian Jewish community, but because from the day one coming to this country, he was always representing all of the communities of Brooklyn, of New York, of the United States. So please welcome Alec Burkrasny.
Thank you, Marina. Thank you very much. Good evening. First of all, let me tell you that it's my honor to be here, and of course, it's my honor to be with Marina and to accept this award on behalf of a wonderful person, Tatiana Varzar. But this initiative is really I think every person in Brooklyn and beyond is a beneficiary of the work of this organization, and not only Jewish person. Because in the times, like the time we're going through now, the ability to tell this story about the Jewish people, not only to the Jewish people, but maybe especially to non-Jewish people, about the community, Jewish community in Brooklyn, is that's just extremely important. Because when you look what's going on around in the streets of New York today, you understand that many people needs lots of education. And every attempt to educate them is not an easy task. But because of the organization like Brooklyn Jewish Historical Initiative, I hope at least some of those people who just very reluctant to the education about Jewish community will be able to get some education. And I thank you very much, Howard. I remember, I go as far as, I remember the days when you had an idea of establishing this organization. was it in the previous century? No, it was in this century, right? Anyway, so it's an honor. It's an honor to accept this award on behalf of Tatiana Warzar, because Tatiana Warzar is the perfect example of a wonderful Russian-speaking Jewish immigrant from the Ukraine who is extremely hard-working individual first, and a very, very nice person, and a very open person, and a great philanthropist. It's a person whom everyone in the Russian Jewish community, Russian-speaking Jewish community, I should say, definitely knows. But beyond the borders of a Russian-speaking Jewish community, she's done a lot for the Jewish community in Brooklyn. Now, she and her husband in Florida, and it's just a great, a wonderful honor for me, and of course for Marina, to accept this award and to accept her acceptance into the Hall of Fame, because she definitely deserves it, and she's just wouldn't be able to be here, and that's sad. But she is of course, she has a great honor of talking to us, to Marina and me, and she's very grateful to all of you and to the Jewish Brooklyn Historical Initiative for this wonderful gesture.
To conclude, I just would like to say again that Tatiana spent 45 years running a restaurant that became a culinary institution, not just known in Brooklyn, but because of Tatiana's work, Brooklyn was getting a lot of attention by work that was done by that exceptional woman. And I would like to tell you and share with you that it was not a single initiative, Jewish initiative in Brooklyn that Tatiana would not support. She was one of the first one who traveled to Israel. She was one of the first one who supported the creation of Russian-speaking division of UJA Federation. So thank you so much for such an honor for Tatiana Warzar.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank the two of you for coming tonight. Appreciate it.
Stand and hold the photo.
Yes.
Just to cover.
Thank you very much.
So you'll notice, by the way, we have this is all being videoed. It's important to us. It'll go on the website afterwards. As I said to Rabbi coming in, it's important to have all of you in the room, but the most important really is to have the video so it goes out to the world and it's there as a legacy for posterity. I'd like to present the next award and induct Rabbi Avi Greenstein. He said to me, "Why do I deserve it?" Because that's who he is. He would say that. This is somebody who's the chief executive officer, and I'm not going to take away from your lead-in, but I just want to, as you come up, of the Borough Park Jewish Community Council. And when I talk about people working with other people and other groups, Mark Meyer-Appel, who will be presenting the award and got our Torchbearer Award last year for his organization, the Bridge Multicultural organization, is extraordinary. Both of them are doing something very, very special, which they'll talk about. So I would ask the two of them to come up now, if you would, and sit in the chairs.
It's a real pleasure, Howard, to be here tonight again, once again. Beautiful crowd. And people don't really understand what Borough Park is about. Borough Park is a very Hasidic community, but it's also a very special community. And it's special because a lot of people that are involved in building the community and maintaining relationships with other communities. Rabbi Avi Greenstein, who's being awarded and inducted into the Hall of Fame, came into the council about 8 years ago, right? About 8 years ago. And he built this organization into a multi-million social services organization that takes care of people of every day with their food stamps, with their food pantries, with their clothing drives, with all the social issues that people need. And it's incredible, but Borough Park is also surrounded by different other communities, Bangladesh community, Italian community. So it takes the strength of a leader to be able to guide this organization and build a relationship with the adjoining community. So my first question to you, Avi, is, first of all, congratulations. You're well deserved. But how, as a Hasidic community, did you take an organization and just build it into this multi-mega million? I've been at the place, you have upstairs and downstairs, you have events going on, everything's going on. How did you do it?
First of all, thank you, Mark, very much. Thank you, Howard, and thank you so much for the Brooklyn Jewish Historical Initiative. Well, let me first say that what got me started in going in this route of advocacy and helping people is because I grew up in Borough Park, and I really feel like this community is something very special, and then that there's the unique needs of each community is really something that it inspires me to really work with us. And I feel like we're connected, we're more common in who we are than we think. And so that when we could, I was a young person starting off, I said, we're going to help this community grow, we're going to try to put forth the real face of the Borough Park community, and just try hard and build teams and work with anyone who wants to work with us, and that leads to putting in that effort helps. But I want to just mention it's not without its struggle. It's very certainly gratifying to look back now and seeing successes. But when you see and you experience and you live through difficult moments, the hard labor, all of us can relate to that. Difficult times like COVID, difficult times experiencing the aftermath of October 7. There's so much, and of course, spikes in anti-Semitism, dealing with poverty. There's so much that weighs us down, right? But what I find is it's compound. It's compound. Putting in efforts every day, building teams, working with people is the best way to build and continue to grow. But the challenge is great, and the goalpost keeps on going further and further. So, thank you.
I remember coming to your office. We had a meeting with the Brooklyn United organization, where different communities from around the city came to see Borough Park. And what they saw, they were shocked. They were shocked to see a community that has its own ambulance system, has its own clothing pantries, has its own self-help organization. It's incredible. It's incredible work. There's no money in the world that you can pay somebody to start an organization like Hatzalah. If you were to pay somebody $2 billion, start an infrastructure where ambulance arrives within 6 seconds. I myself had a vertigo episode. It wasn't really life dangerous. In 3 seconds, an ambulance took me down from my bedroom and into a hospital. So that kind of charity of the ambulance services and food pantries and clothing drives and help, the amount of food that's being given out in Passover, together with Met Council, that's just incredible. It's just incredible. It's something that should be shown around the world, and I know by having you videotape it tonight, people around the world will see this and see that we are a community that gives back. We don't take.
But I want to add to that one of the things that inspires me really to the core is connecting with other communities around our neighborhoods, and we find is that what's common is what connects us so much is that we all experience issues with aging, issues with poverty. We all want the best for our families and our children, and that really, when we have the opportunity to get people around the table, but other communities, it really is important. That's really something that I feel like our community, I see this from our perspective, is really, unfortunately, bear the brunt of a bad media presence, bad face in the media. It's not the story that we know and experience every day. You walk the streets of 13th Avenue, you see beautiful families, beautiful businesses, you see children walking the streets, well-dressed, well-mannered, and families caring for one another, trying to build a community. That's not the story you get when you read about Borough Park, and that bothers me and that motivates me. And to build as many people as possible get to experience the experience of Borough Park and Brooklyn, which it is. So Borough Park JCC has developed together with COPO. COPO is the Council of People Organizations, Mohammed Razvi. We developed a Brooklyn Communities United initiative to bring leaders of communities around the table, and we meet regularly in each of our communities. And that really connects us. We can talk about and lobby together and work together on issues. But I want to mention one very quick story. It was a little bit after October 7 that we got together, and that particular meeting was in COPO. Mohammed Razvi hosted it at that particular meeting. It was maybe a week or 2 weeks or so after October 7. And there was a lot of tension in the room. But this meeting was planned a couple of weeks or maybe months before. And there was tremendous tension. We're sitting in a round table with imams and rabbis and pastors and reps from all communities. But we had that beautiful meeting, and we were sitting and talking about the issues and how we can connect and how we can really work together. And I remember one of the participants getting up and saying, "Where are the media? There should be 5 major vans outside, major network television standing outside with big cameras. This is the story of Brooklyn. This is the story of communities coming together, not what's going on in the Middle East." And this is an example of how we can really work together. That is a memorable moment that continues to drive us and should drive us all, is to reach out, keep on being curious, keep on engaging, and ultimately great people will come together, great things will happen.
I just want to say thank you. Mohammed Razvi is the head of COPO, which is the Council of People Organization. It's the largest nonprofit in the city of New York. It receives tens of millions of dollars in funding. A simple story, I was in synagogue. The first call I got showing my support for the hostages was from Mohammed Razvi. And also, during the Ukrainian situation, what happened in Ukraine, Jewish community sent over to Mohammed Razvi 30 to 40 trailers of food. So, working together, we can change the world. We are changing the world.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Wow.
Presentation of the plaque.
Amazing.
Congratulations, the induction.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So our next inductee is Joe Nahum, and full disclosure, I know him since I was a kid. Joe is going to come up and tell us about how his Brooklyn past in the Syrian Jewish community shaped who he is today as a world-class interior designer. And we have a second world-class person who's going to come up and actually interview him, and that's his brother, Edward Tyler Nahum, of fame because of the art gallery that he runs in Manhattan, which I'm so proud that the two of them have decided to be here. So, Ed and Joe, you want to come on up?
Hi, everybody.
Can you hear me?
By admission, I'm the older brother, and I'm going to
Much older.
interview the younger brother. So I would say, by the way, there was all of the talk earlier very quickly about Ebbets Field, and I'm proud to say that another famous Nahum was Sam Nahum, who pitched for the Brooklyn Dodgers, among others, in the major leagues. I don't think there are any other Syrian Jews who played professional baseball, but he has his own special history. I'm really honored to be honoring my brother Joe here tonight, thinking about his early days with interest in design, interest in fashion, really take me back very far, and we are, I would say, collectively proud of our Brooklyn roots. I say all things come from baseball or Brooklyn, and maybe the two, and I think talking about my brother here tonight, it's another testimony to Brooklyn yielding talent like it does. I don't know if it's the drinking water or something geothermal, but I don't know a borough that's yielded more talent per square foot than this one. So, yeah. Joe, I wanted to ask you what some of your early days and influences were. I mean, obviously we have our parents who were incredibly open and generous with what they showed us, even in their own limited capacity. But can you speak to what your early influences were?
Well, I just wanted to add one more thing about the Passover baseball. We did the same thing. But we went to Yankee Stadium with packed matzah and hard-boiled eggs. So we had the same experience, and we ended up being in the centerfold of the Daily News on a day we were supposed to be at school, and we all played hooky to go to school, and we're on the centerfold of the Daily News, so there was no hiding that. But I think, growing up in a place like Brooklyn, and again, our world was fairly small. Yeah, I came from a very large family. I had probably, I think, around 50, 52 first cousins, and we were all very close. So again, to me, that was our world. But I was lucky to be also exposed to going to the city and our parents taking us, occasionally to museums and things that were inspired. But even within our own community, at a very young age, I had just interest in design, and my cousins, family was like, oh, help me, help them, and I think that's kind of where I got started. So for me, even the synagogue, which, I forget her name, I'm sorry, I was talking about the synagogues earlier, our Shara Zion, where was our synagogue, which was built in the 60s, was designed by, I don't know if people know this, by Morris Lapidus, who was the same architect who did the Fontainebleau and some of the most famous Miami glitzy. So to me, just going to shul was like inspiring to see the synagogue there, and then just work from there. But I also wanted to say, I'm just a little surprised to be here, because hearing all these stories of the other people and changing the world, I think I could change the world maybe one house at a time, but it's, I'm very inspired by people like you and the people who spoke before us, and that does make a difference to me. And it's, I can't say I really did a lot of changing of the world.
It did.
Yeah, I guess for some people.
A quick thing, by the way, when we did go to Yankee Stadium with our packed Passover kosher lunches, as the guy with the steam box with the hot dogs came by and all the cousins got a whiff of it, we all looked at each other coming from kosher households and saying,
Passover.
anybody dare? Nobody dared.
No.
So,
Not one people person.
But Joe, I also wanted to ask you, what were some of your first jobs? Because I know they came out of Brooklyn, and can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I mean, as I said a few minutes ago, I was very lucky to have cousins, relatives, people within the community who trusted me at a very young age, because I'm a high school dropout originally. I went to work with my family business, and subsequently I met my partner, who was a WASP from Florida, who knew nothing of Judaism in Brooklyn, and he got accepted into the community because we started doing work for our cousins, relatives, and other people in the community. And he inspired me to get my GED. I went back to school. I graduated from Parsons in Paris. And our first project that we did together in Brooklyn for another Syrian Jewish family ended up on the cover of the home section of the New York Times before I even graduated from Parsons. So that was like our ticket, and from there we got to do some amazing projects, but we continued working in Brooklyn. And I will say our family, which I think is about 475 strong now, with our cousins, the children, the grandchildren, now great-grandchildren, most of whom still live in Brooklyn. I would say a majority of them still live in Brooklyn and still married within, most of them still married within the community. So having gotten the start with family, continued on for even till now, working in Brooklyn. So I'm very proud of being a Brooklyn-born, young-ish person.
Joe, along this storied evolution, this trajectory, this journey, what would you say are some of the highlights that you're particularly proud of? Actually, I'm sorry, I wanted to preface it with, I know Joe's first job was, they said to him, look, we just put a window here and a curtain there and that's it. So how would you go from that to where you are today? And I see we're about to get the hook, so.
Yeah, they're cool.
so-
I said to Ed earlier, please make it brief, because I am not good.
Okay,
I'm a
but
pretty good
just,
designer,
can you-
but I'm not a good speaker.
Can you just outline briefly a couple of the highlights along the journey?
I mean, I've been very, very fortunate to have great clients. I have a great team, some of whom are here tonight working for me. And again, without that, I don't think I would have gotten anywhere. And support from my family and my spouse, who, hi Jeff, who's here. So I think that would be very important to me and help along the way. But I also got to travel to some amazing places, work on projects, all over the United States, and work for very famous people, and that's always very exciting to be included in that. And even with that, I tell people, like, I'm a Jewish boy from Brooklyn. And I've been lucky to be inducted into some of those other Hall of Fame, so it's not my first one.
Joe, thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
Congratulations to you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. My name on it. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you so much.
So as he talks about 457 people in his family, on the way in, as I introduce, and I want to mention Celia Margol is a member of our Hall of Fame this year, one of the great composers and extraordinary people in our community. Rabbi, as you were walking in, one of the things it's Rabbi Aaron Raskin, that he said to me, I have 4 generations here tonight. And he does. His father sitting next to him, his wife here, and his children and grandchildren, and it's unbelievable. So I met one of his sons. That's how I got introduced to you. Who, if the two of you would come up, Eliyahu and Rabbi Raskin, I had the good fortune to meet him, and he's, in his own right, just unbelievable in leading a generation and doing things with that generation, which is so important to us. So I asked him because I thought it was important that we have, and we had 2 brothers, and now we got a father and son. This is about the continuity. When you're talking Hall of Fame, you're talking about legacy, you're talking about continuity. So we're thrilled to have the 2 of you, and I turn it over to young Rabbi Raskin.
Thank you so much, Howard. I'm so honored to be here. I was able to be here last year and this year as well. This year I'm able to help induct my father into the Hall of Fame. So I'm sure you've all Googled my father. He's a superstar rabbi. He's been on the news. He's in National Geographics. Gets quoted in papers all the time. I'm going to try to get some thoughts and ideas out of you that you can't Google and you can't find on the internet and you can't chat GPT. So the first question, Rabbi Raskin, from Rabbi Raskin, is what is your favorite rabbi joke?
Full disclosure, I was told to prepare a drasha tonight, a speech, and then I'm being interviewed, so I have to change my notes. My best favorite rabbi joke. That's a tough one. I'll tell you what I prepared for tonight. I heard this from my grandfather, bless his memory.
I just want to mention one thing when you talk about rabbi jokes. So one of the things that your son did when you were here, and he has a ton of books. This is an ultimate scholar. So his son
I heard
says.
from my father, by the way.
So Eliyahu says to me, I'm going to give you 3 of his books to read. So I start reading them, and I got about this far, and you read them again, and each word is important. So talk about a joke. Give somebody who wants to learn a lot a scholarly set of books. And I said to him, I'll read it this weekend, longer.
Almost done.
Thank you, Howard. It's a big honor to be here tonight. So my grandfather, of blessed memory, Rabbi Jacob Shehecht, many times when he was introduced, he would say that President Lyndon Johnson was once given a very flowery introduction. And he said, you know, I really wish my father and mother were here. And they asked him why. And he said, my father would have liked it, and my mother would have believed it. So I'm happy to say my father is here, and I'm sure he liked it, and my mother is probably watching on video, and she surely believes it. And thank you all for coming tonight.
Amazing, thank you. My father always has jokes at his fingertips, so I know. My next question for you is, I know you grew up under your grandfather's inspiration and the Rebbe's inspiration for the Chabad movement. What inspires you today to be the rabbi you are? What inspired you to grow from where you were to where you are now and hopefully will become?
First and foremost, I want to say that I have the distinct honor and privilege to be part of a family that has probably 1,000 cousins.
How many rabbis?
And we are the largest rabbinic family today in America, the Hecht family. By the way, my uncle, Rabbi Abraham Hecht, was one of the major rabbis in Shari Zion.
He married me.
He married you. Mazel tov.
Mazel tov.
Okay, fantastic. We're all mishpacha over here, all family here.
This wasn't a stand-up comic routine.
So it's all working out. So the bottom line is, when I was about 7 years old, about 50 years ago, my parents, for the first time, took me on an airplane. And I was very delighted, very excited. And I turned to my grandmother, Rebbetzin Hecht, Rebbetzin Chava Hecht, of blessed memory. I said, Bubby, how does the pilot know where to fly? And she said, my grandson is brilliant. That's an amazing question. That's an amazing question. I'm going to call over the flight attendant, and you're going to ask the flight attendant yourself. I said, Bubby, no, I'm shy. I don't want to ask the flight attendant. No, you have to do it. I said, okay, Bubby, whatever you say. And I turned to the flight attendant and said, ma'am, excuse me, how does the pilot know where to fly? So that's a brilliant question. Amazing question. And the answer is very simple. You see, you look outside both of these windows, and you'll see that there are wings on the plane. And on the side of each wing, there's a light. And the pilot flies right through both of those lights. And I'm 7 years old, I'm saying, she's not telling me the truth. But you know something? It took me 50 years
to get to the brilliance of that story. Because the answer is that I believe throughout my life I had these two lights that constantly gave me direction and inspiration. On the right side, my mentor, the Lubavitcher Rebbe. On the left side, my grandfather of esteem, Rabbi Jacob J. Hecht. On the right side, my father and my mother. On my left side, my wife and my children. These are people who constantly give me inspiration to continue to climb and do more for the community every single day. So these are my lights.
Any other light-related topics you'd like to share before we continue?
Time is short. Howard gave me 2.5 minutes. I just want to end with one last story. You talk about a favorite joke, and I want to share a favorite story that I try to live with every day of my life. And that is, tomorrow we celebrate Yud Tes Kislev, the 19th of Kislev, which is known as the Rosh Hashanah of Chassidus. And the year 1798, Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Liadi was arrested and brought into Tsarist prison. And the reason was for printing a Tanya, for printing a book on Jewish mysticism, which was a violation of the law. And while he was in prison, the captain, a non-Jew, who was fluent in the entire 24 books of the Bible with commentary, more than most of our Jewish brothers and sisters here tonight, went over to the Alter Rebbe and said to him, I have a question in the Bible. He says, yes, what is the question? He said, you know, in the beginning of the Bible it says that Adam and Eve ate from the forbidden fruit. And God turned to Adam and said, Adam, Ayeka, where are you? Now, I'm not Jewish, but doesn't God know everything? Why does God turn to Adam and say, Ayeka, where are you? The Alter Rebbe said, you know, the classic commentator Rashi answers that question. And he says that God didn't want to scare Adam. He says, yeah, I'm familiar with that answer, but I want something more mystical. You're a mystical rabbi. You wrote a book on mysticism. I want to hear a deeper answer. And the Alter Rebbe asked him, tell me, do you believe the Bible is eternal? He said, yes. Do you believe the Bible talks to every human being? He says, yes. If that is the case, the answer is as follows. You see, every day of our life, God turns to each and every one of us. We are Adam. Adam means Adam le'elyoin, we are created in the image of God. And he says to us, Ayeka, where are you? Your soul came down to this world millions and billions of light years from heaven down to earth to the physical body to be a light onto the nations of the world, to make the world a better place, to make the world a more beautiful place. Are you fulfilling your purpose? Ayeka, where are you? And this is the message here tonight. I'm honored that the Brooklyn Jewish Historical Initiative is honoring me. But number one, I only accept the honor on behalf of the Lubavitcher Rebbe, of my grandfather, Rabbi Jacob J. Hecht, of my father, my mother, my wife, and my family, and my entire beautiful Jewish community of Brooklyn Heights. But the most important word in this sentence is initiative. That each one of us has to make that initiative. Each one of us is a candle. Each one of us is a light. None of us is insignificant. We're not too small. Yes, perhaps you're not the CEO of a big company in Borough Park or a rabbi of a synagogue, but every one of us has a soul, and each one of us can make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you. Rabbi Raskin, Zaidi, you want to come up for the picture?
Maybe just you first?
so much. Your Honor. Thank you.
As Serena's about to come up, there's Rabbi. Out of what you said, Rabbi Raskin, only a couple of weeks ago somebody said to me, and it was really important, that we always look back at the generations before us and living up to it, and the torch is with us. And they were saying all the generations before did what they did, so we're in a position to contribute right now, and that's a responsibility on us. So I learned a lot from that and so much from you. Thank you.
Our final presentation is actually to two people together, Noah Rinsky, and full disclosure, my husband, David Raffay. David used to say that he was proud to be, because I was, notable in my own right, but since then it's become, I'm Dave's wife. So Dave, through Noah Rinsky, has become the face of something called Old Jewish Men. Noah is the founder of Old Jewish Men. I'd like to call them both up. We're going to do a little segment. And New York Nico, we are proud to say, is going to actually present the award and do the interview. We have a couple of videos we're going to show you. It's really going to be a nice segment, so come on up. These guys have been all over the internet. Their last commercial, the one you're going to see tonight, I think has over 50 million views. So we are really delighted and honored to have these guys here tonight. Noah, did you bring your book?
I brought my book.
Noah brought his book.
Brought my book.
And Dave has been on Kelly Clarkson and all different things. You can read it at the bio in there. And with that,
Yeah.
should we roll the video first? Yeah. This is a commercial for Katz's Deli, I believe.
Right, that's wrong video, but whatever.
Oh, that's too funny.
All right, yeah, restart, maybe restart it
Yeah, 1 second.
so we can get the sound.
I'll just preface the video by I'll just, for those who are watching the video, just, we had an idea basically to go to Crown Heights and we felt like everyone was asking us to put on to film and they were getting all the
We're
mitzvahs.
tired of all these Lubavitchers taking all our mitzvahs. So now they're going to use mine to film instead of their own. You get the mitzvah, and we get a mitzvah having you put on film. Is he going to put on film for us? Yeah, we put on film. Put on film already. So don't again. We're doing it for the Eberstein, for the God Almighty. God knows says do it once. Are you Jewish? Okay. Did you put on film today? You're taking all the mitzvahs, it's my turn. This guy is all about quid pro quo. I do something for you, you do something for me. I give you tzedakah, you put on film for OJM. For you. You get Ben Steele. I put tefillin for you. Put the Ben Steele. Think of me while you're putting it on. Think of all the mitzvahs God is going to give you now, and you want to, let me hold your hand. Now you're going to get vibrating. Are you like Jewish? Friday.
Did that Friday of Yom Kippur. Friday morning of Yom Kippur.
Scan my shirt. Scan me.
It does work. Not in for the break. And it's there. It does. Chicken.
So this was really funny. When David and I went to Montreal in September, he wore the same shirt, and we went to a Costco in Montreal, and of course it didn't scan because they have different barcodes in Montreal. But the lady behind the cashier said, "That's the guy, that's the guy, that's the guy." And she knew right away who it was because he's become the Costco oracle. So I think we have one more. This was Valentine's Day. A Valentine's Day dinner was the samples from Costco. Now you notice we never eat the unkosher food, but the idea was that.
But yeah, we should show the actual the commercial from the different Katz's.
Katz's Deli.
Katz's Deli, and Nick directed Dave.
Which one?
The one you had at the beginning that was on the screen.
This one?
The one that was on the screen was part of it.
This one?
No.
The screen picture is part of it.
Oh, the screen picture?
Yeah, that was a video. Okay, we can show it at the end.
That's part of the commercial.
All right. Well, congratulations. How does it feel?
For what?
For this. Have you ever won an award before?
Yeah, but not for anything positive.
There you go. So congratulations. So, how did this all come to be?
My wife actually was to blame because she saw something in backstage that was put out by Noah, and it was there looking for a cranky old Jewish, man, and okay. And I said, well, I don't know, you think, I could act? And she said, you've been acting like a husband for 40 years. This should be easy. Now, that's the last joke she's cracked. But the truth actually is, I went for the audition, and I was supposed to meet Noah I was 96th or 72nd? 72nd, that's what I thought. At 72nd and Columbus, and I took the train, and I walked the wrong way towards the west side, which was Amsterdam, and I didn't find where I was supposed to meet him. And then I called him and started screaming at him, yelling at him that you're in the wrong location. And then I realized I'm in the wrong location. So I walked over, and I guess he thought that they needed a real miserable guy.
This guy's perfect.
Right.
And this
to do anything else.
This was three years ago?
Yeah, I think it's about 3 years ago.
And since then, you've become pretty famous.
Infamous or famous?
I think famous.
Infamous. Yeah, it's kind of yes.
And how does that feel as a man in his mid-70s who's becoming famous sort of later in life?
I think it's kind of interesting, and I'm just, he's the one in YouTube that designed this, and I think no, seriously, and I think it's kind of interesting that you figured out how an old man and others that we work with can make comedy and get things that young people actually want to see.
Well, if God could design an old Jewish man for the bit, I think he'd look a lot like Dave. Maybe a little shorter.
I find it just personally very interesting that young kids, mostly younger people, they see this, and I get recognized all the time on the street. We were in China, my wife, and we were near the Great Wall, and some guy comes over. Are you the guy? Yeah, that's me. And I think my grandson David is here. Is he here? He's here. Okay, yeah. David, my grandson goes to the school where we live, and all of the older kids recognize it. I volunteer one day at the school, and they all walk past and they yell out, the guy, enough is enough, and they want pictures, and it's kind of funny. I mean, it's having some fun.
And are you just playing yourself, or are you acting?
Don't have to act. So many things in the world annoy me. I hate everybody. Everybody bothers me. So this is like, I think one of the things, in fact, I'm a member of Toastmasters, which is an organization, and about a couple of meetings ago, they asked questions at the end, and they asked me, they asked anyone, what's something that bothers you? And I got up and said, how much time do I have? And it was 2 minutes. I could have spoke 200 minutes. So this is, not even having to act. It's just, part of life.
And Noah, what makes Dave so special?
What makes Dave so special? I mean, like he was saying, imagine if you can show up for work every day and you can just kind of coast. I think Dave makes my life pretty easy. Some of the guys have to play it up a little bit, but Dave is who he is, and you just kind of turn on the camera and tell him to turn on, and the problem is kind of getting him to turn off.
If you would, could you give us some insight in terms of the social media context of this? Because a lot of people here,
I
and a
think
lot of
that's
us don't
important.
understand it. Yeah.
Sure. I think that the conceit for this entire thing, this old Jewish men thing, it kind of started with, it kind of started at the time where inflation was kind of making headlines. And that's kind of where we kind of was a jumping off point about the price of the Katz's pastrami sandwich. Kind of we were protesting outside. Old Jewish men deserve free pastrami or cheaper pastrami. We were protesting that there are no public toilets in New York. And I think one of the things that we kind of became known for, or kind of the cause of the group, was that we were protesting things that were funny but actually kind of meaningful. Primarily the toilets. What's that? Oh yeah. And Dave famously was protesting at the Christmas tree in Midtown that it's everyone's celebrating Christmas, but it's it's fair that it's still Hanukkah. We should talk about Hanukkah. But anyways, with these videos, Dave became fairly known online for kind of taking the rotisserie chicken, which he doesn't eat anyway, it's not kosher, but reminding America that the $4.99 rotisserie chicken is kind of a symbol, if you will, of like American stability, economic stability, and if the price of the rotisserie chicken goes above $4.99, then maybe the country's in trouble, which resonated with people.
New York Nico, we were doing the Cats commercial. I think he said you get better as you get older, something like that. But I applaud both of them because it's the content is their ideas, and that's really what's more important. The content, what it's for, and recognizing that it's just simple fun. It's it's something that you look at, maybe people look at in the morning, it's 30 seconds, a minute, and you get on your way, you have fun early, and then you go, you do your job, and you do your work. And I think that's kind of more of what it's about. But that they recognize what would be funny and how to put people in the position to be funny. And that really is what's important. It's easy to be funny, but you have to be in the position where your type of humor and comedy works. And both of them, have done that. And I think that's the important part of it, really, in a lot of ways.
Let's roll that Katz's commercial.
Yeah, is that the Cats commercial?
Yeah.
Come on, Dan. Pick up the phone, please. Come on, I'm waiting for you. Dan, please pick up the phone. Hello, who's this? It's your twin brother, you schmuck. What are you going to save numbers? I'm busy, Dave. What do you want? So I'm here in Cats. You want me to order the usual or what? Listen, Dave, you know the only thing I miss about living in New York is the cats that just brought me on right. So you gotta stop nailing these sandwiches. I think the mailman allowed me to kill me. So what did you say? I zoned out the slicing station again. I said the only thing I miss about New York is cats and delicatessen. What am I, shopliver? You know what? We had a kind of shopliver. My wife's gonna divorce me if she finds another side here. Open the mailbox.
Yo, old man, you're not actually going to send that sandwich in that envelope, are you?
Who's asking?
You know Cat ships nationwide, right?
Don't worry about it, Daddy boy. I got the solution.
Right, it's not over.
Send a taste of New York anywhere in the U.S. and Canada. Packed fresh daily right from the slicing counter and shipped overnight.
I think what's really interesting is that they've taken something that's so mundane and made it so funny and done it in 1 to 2 minute, sometimes 30-second clips that's gone all over the internet, on Instagram, on Facebook, on all kinds of social media, and people actually stop us in the supermarket when they see them. So I think really, Noah, it's more about the social media and how you've been able to really put out there what's so Jewish and so cultural identity in a way that really people identify with, and get it out onto social media so that everybody's talking about what it is. And I think that's something I'd love for you to hear about.
Yeah, I guess oftentimes the most entertaining outcome is ends up being the outcome. You know, one that people can, basically digest and engage with fairly easily. Oftentimes I guess the most accessible thing is the thing that people go for, and whether or not our viewership is tapping into the deeper meaning of anything that we're doing, if there is a deeper meaning, there at least.
There's no deeper meaning.
Well, I would argue at least that, for example, the tefillin video. All these years, guys have been stopping me to put on tefillin, and I've felt like they're racking up all the mitzvahs. And, where are my mitzvahs? And where is my mitzvah going to him, or am I getting the mitzvah? So, I thought it was a worthwhile question. And I think when the Lubavitchers watched the video, they probably had to think about it for a second. And they were also wondering, like, well, can we wrap it twice, The
original idea was to do that by Grand Army Plaza. And it was, as I said, it was the Friday of Yom Kippur. We specifically went out to do it on that day. And we were going to do it by Grand Army Plaza, but then we got together and said it's going to be funnier by, we wanted to do it another place, but I didn't want to, but we thought better of it. But we said it would be funny to do it by, in Crown Heights, because knowing everybody has put it on 3 times that day. So, and everyone we asked was certainly going to say yes, which is exactly what happened. So, where's David? I saw David. Come here, D. Hold on 1 second, please.
This is my grandson, David, who's going to have a bar mitzvah in just a few months.
He was David. Stand over here.
He's David number 2, David Raffay, the namesake.
He's the guy that ran with the dog. At the end of the Cats movie, there's a guy that runs with a dog in a box. That's him and Snowball, our dog. This is a book written by, not me. Yeah, I don't read, but it's
we had a book come out this year. It's called the Old Jewish Man's Guide to Eating, Sleeping, and Futzing Around. It was a USA Today bestseller. The critics are saying that it's for the Jews it might be more important now than some of these other books you guys are reading. I'm just kidding. What's the thing? These Talmudic scholars can point their finger at the book and they can know every letter. Well, this one's a lot less pages, so it'll be a little faster.
Printed 40,000. What do you have? About 39,000 left.
Yeah, exactly. I had to pay for 1,000. Yeah, I bought 1,000 of them. But thank you to the Brooklyn Initiative for having us. I have to admit, I was actually born in Cincinnati, so.
But he lives in Brooklyn.
But I live in Brooklyn.
That's right. So with that, they've really been entertaining. They'll be here answering questions. We're going to open up the buffet, such as it is. So you're welcome to have a little snack to eat. I did want to say that being Brooklyn, being from Jewish, our identity, our ethnicity, we all need to be proud of who we are. And let's take a picture. And maybe if we can get the honorees up here to take one group picture, that would be great too.
First the three of you. Come on.
Me too?
Picture David. Come on, movie star.
Wait, guys. Let me get you next.
So while they're finishing the picture, we want to thank everyone for being here. And please pay attention to what we're doing. Go to the website, www.brooklynjewish.org. Thank you.